The Sepacat Jaguar A is the French version of the Jaguar attack jet, currently the top-tier French strike aircraft in War Thunder. Let's have a look. Throughout the 1960s, France and the UK engaged in a variety of aerospace partnerships. Some of these partnerships led to nothing. Some of them led to scandals, and some of them gave us useful aircraft. One of the successful partner projects ended in the Jaguar attack jet. The project began when the British wanted to replace their Hawker Hunter and Foland Gnat jets. At the same time, the French were looking to replace the Mystère 4 and the Fouga Magister. The requirements changed a whole bunch of times, from a pure ground attack jet to a combined trainer and attack jet, but the eventual result was the Sepacat Jaguar. The prototype first flew in 1968, and from there the British and French Jaguars diverged into different but similar aircraft, both entering service throughout the 1970s. The Jaguar A, the French version, is what we're looking at here. In French service, the Jaguar served as their primary land-based strike jet all the way up into the mid-2000s when it was finally replaced by the Rafale. The Jaguar currently sits in the game at BR 10.3 in rank 6. Once I unlocked this jet, it immediately became my primary RP grinder for France. I like the Jaguar so much that I caved in and got the Talisman for it, only the second jet I've done that with, and it's proven very efficient for me in terms of RP per hour. During the week I was recording the footage for this review, the Jaguar was patched to get countermeasures, which significantly improved its survivability. So if it seems odd that I don't have flares in some of the clips, that's why. In terms of weapons, the Jaguar gets a pretty good selection of useful loadouts for ground attack. An important note, the loadout of 9 250 kilogram bombs actually does slightly more damage to strategic bases than the higher ranked loadout of 6 400 kilogram bombs. It's atypical, but the lower level loadout actually ends up being more useful. As a bonus, if you decide that you're not going to be attacking the strategic base, or someone beats you to it, you also have a higher quantity of bombs to drop on regular ground targets, versus taking the 6 400 kilogram loadout. Flying as close air support for ground RBs a bit different, and the larger bombs are probably still going to be more useful for you there, as are the rocket pods, which end up being pretty much dead weight in air RB, considering how many more, research points you can get by bombing the strategic bases. The Jaguar also gets the Matra R550 Magic 1 infrared-guided air-to-air missile. As you probably know, the Magic 1 is a beast in air combat. I've scored some really surprising hits with this missile, including some near-vertical shots against people who are trying to energy trap me. I've learned with the R550 that I can often take shots I wouldn't try with other IR missiles, and I continue to surprise myself at some of the hits I can get with this thing. Once you unlock it, the Jaguar gets significantly expanded capabilities, allowing you to reliably engage enemy jets after dumping your bombs, instead of just flying straight home for more bombs. The Jaguar carries no radar or IRST systems, but it has a full ballistics computer, with the CCIP for your guns, rockets, and bombs. It kind of feels weird flying a jet out at top tier without any kind of radar system, but you get used to it after a few missions. In the current patch, the Jaguar also got countermeasures. Lots of countermeasures. Conventional wisdom is that, you usually only pop flares or chaff after a missile is launched, generally while it's mid-flight, as you try and pull evasive maneuvers and cut your afterburners and stuff. With the Jaguar, you still want to do all that, but you've just got so many flares and chaff that honestly, you can just dump these things randomly all over the place like a total noob, to make it a little bit harder for people to lock you up in the first place, and still have plenty left over for evading missiles. This addition was a serious buff to the Jaguar, and my crystal ball tells me that this plane is going to be getting a BR bump sometime in the near future as a result of this change. Flying the Jaguar A out on missions is pretty standard ground pounder stuff. Call a strategic target, make a mad dash for it, dump your bombs, peel off, and try to pick off targets of opportunity on your way back to reload the bombs. But there's a twist. The Jaguar is relatively fast for a ground pounder. It's a transonic jet, and I found that if you pick your strategic target correctly, you can often time your opening attack run to be in a good position to turn in and flank the enemy team after you dump your bombs, or sometimes even get them from behind. Very frequently, I've been able to use this kind of a flight profile to score at least one air-to-air kill after dumping my bombs. This provides a pretty steady baseline of RP per hour, and is one of the reasons the Jaguar is such an efficient grinder. In terms of flight performance, the Jaguar can get to Mach 1 without bombs, and it has okay engine performance. It doesn't feel underpowered, but you're not a rocket. Its maneuverability is pretty average for, a transonic ground attack jet, and as always, you're going to suffer seriously decreased performance until you drop your bombs, but once the dead weight is gone, you can hang in there with other planes pretty often. Dedicated turn fighters like, a MiG-21 or a J-35 are still going to steal your lunch money, but if your air combat maneuvering and situational awareness are on point, you'll generally be able to survive long enough in the furball to get at least one kill, especially with all those countermeasures. You can drop combat flaps at up to about 900 kilometers an hour, which is pretty high and can help sometimes. Use your Magic 1 missiles carefully. Again, you can score some hits with them that you might not expect, and you'll probably be able to get at least one kill per mission, even if you're, jumping into the middle of 8 or 9 enemy fighters and get shot down pretty quickly. If you're more focused on survivability, try to fly a more conservative mission profile and maybe just play a little bit more of a vulture role. But my personal style after I dump my bombs is just to charge right into the thick of it and see what happens. Presuming you live long enough, landing the Jaguar is pretty basic. You can drop flaps at around 400 kilometers an hour and drop gear a little above that. The plane has a drag chute, so your ground roll is pretty short after you touch down. The air brake is effective, not as much as I'd like personally, but it's fine. And, you'll still be doing the S-turn dance on approach. But generally speaking, the landing performance of this plane is, adequate. The visuals for the Jaguar are pretty good. The skins are all relatively decent, and if you don't want to fly for France, you can cover up the roundels without a whole lot of trouble. The afterburners, though, look absolutely horrible, and if you're flying a dusk or a night mission, they're gonna be distracting. The cockpit for the Jaguar is something special, though. You have superb visibility, useful instrumentations, and check this out, a live ground map in the middle of your console. Cool. The HUD gives you some useful info, and really it's one of the better looking setups in the game, at least in my opinion. Closing out the French Jaguar A, this plane has a really solid set of loadouts, with a good variety of bombs, rockets, and air-to-air missiles, well suited to air missions or flying close air support for ground RB. Having the R550 Magic will give you sharper teeth in air-to-air combat than most of the other strike jets. The full ballistics computer is seriously convenient, and you've got a dump truck full of countermeasures. The only real drawbacks are that it isn't quite as fast as the Su-17 or a couple of the other top-tier attack jets. It doesn't have a radar set. and it doesn't get any guided air-to-ground weapons. The overall verdict on the Jaguar A is that this is a seriously potent aircraft and can be your primary grinder for France. Get this and use it to research the rest of the French jets. As always, thanks for watching.